We don't think it's hyperbolic to say that the modern wrestling world would be nothing without ROH. Developing the wrestling norm that we see in the 2020s back in the early 2000s, Ring of Honor has definitely laid the groundwork to what many of us consider to be great wrestling today. Whether it was developing the legacy of Samoa Joe, CM Punk, and Bryan Danielson, or developing an in-ring style of storytelling that was so refreshing compared to the standard at the time. As a new chapter for Ring of Honor begins under the Tony Khan era, we wanted to take a look back and see what the best of the best was for those who have shaken hands in the red and black ring. This is Extreme League Wrestling, and here are our top 10 Ring of Honor matches of all time. Number 10, Samoa Joe vs. Austin Aries, Final Battle 2004. ROH would not be ROH today without one Samoa Joe. His legendary world title reign that spanned over 600 days really put early ROH on the map. Weighing in at 300 pounds and moving like a cruiserweight, Samoa Joe definitely did set the groundwork for the modern wrestling product we have today. And honestly, there are too many highlights from his reign to count, but if we had to highlight anything, it would be his trilogy of matches with CM Punk. Which, not to give too much away of our list, but if you want to hear more about that, keep watching later in this video. But the question always is with any monster heel champion, who will dethrone them? Who will grab the proverbial brass ring and become the next top guy in the promotion? Well, at Final Battle 2004, that turned out to be Austin Aries. While yes, Austin Aries is a bit, well, questionable now, at the time he was the white-hot babyface looking to dethrone the monster. This title defense saw a different level of the big guy little guy matchup, where instead of Samoa Joe swatting Austin Aries out of the air and stopping his offense with big power moves, both men were equal in power and in quickness, leading this match to be decided to who was the better wrestler, who could develop the best game plan. After a hard-hitting bout and one 450 splash later, Austin Aries was able to dethrone, at the time, the longest-reigning Ring of Honor World Champion ever. With a proverbial passing of the torch moment after the match, this is great to see how ROH was able to not only stick to their stalwarts, but develop new talent for the years to come. The Briscoes vs. Dragon Lee and ROH, ROH Best in the World Television Tapings 2019. The Briscoes are one of the biggest teams in Ring of Honor history, with Jay himself being a former world champion. The 2010s era of the company saw wonderful additions of Mexican talent, such as Bandito, Dragon Lee, and ROH. Seeing ROH get a bigger spotlight on AEW television and forming his own faction with Andrade might even see the inclusion of one Dragon Lee eventually. But if you need an introduction to these new AEW talent or want to get into any previous ROH work, these two teams of brothers are a great place to start. This match starts off hot with El Toro Blanco going right after Mark Briscoe with a big right hand. All four men move at unhuman speeds during this match, and especially ROH, you can see how this guy is so special. He has the look, the strength, and the moveset to be a star, no matter what company he's in. But all four men working together really do make this television match feel like a war. The Briscoes really do take their time picking apart their opponents before a big babyface comeback. Some highlights include the Briscoes catching Dragon Lee midair for a double arm suplex, and ROH giving a symphony of chops to the chest of an already busted open Mark Briscoe. The Tranquilo Boys pick up the win in a match that really does show you how deep the roster of Ring of Honor is and always has been. Cody vs. Christopher Daniels for the ROH title, Best in the World 2017. While time has passed, we really should highlight the difference and the impact Cody Rhodes' departure from WWE caused in the wrestling world. Because without this single event, we would not have any All Out, there would be no AEW, and there would be no epic Hell in the Cell match that we're still talking about months and possibly years later. Cody Rhodes, or sorry, just Cody at the time for legal reasons, finally got his shot at a major world title outside of WWE when he faced Christopher Daniels at 2017's Best in the World. The story of this match was simple. Cody Rhodes, a Southern-style bad guy, had to face Christopher Daniels, the ROH lifer who had just recently won the big one from Adam Cole. Cody Rhodes, feeling disrespected by the wrestling world, carried into the style of his wrestling for his match. But during a majority of the match, Christopher Daniels, the savvy veteran, was able to keep pace with Cody. Every trip to Dick Kick City saw Cody go through a table. After every extended break in the crowd or at ringside, Christopher Daniels would come in with some hot, fiery offense to catch the American Nightmare off guard. We even saw dual run-ins in Kazarian and Marty Scurll. But with one miss to the eye and a crossroads later, Cody Rhodes had won his first major world title. Watching this match, you really can see the disconnect between Cody Rhodes and AEW fans prior to his departure from the company. We reckon that this is the version of Cody everybody wanted. But you have to take into context, Cody Rhodes was also extremely bitter at WWE after leaving and having to be Stardust for so long. So, who knows? Maybe Cody's just not that guy anymore. And that's possibly why we're in the timeline we are today. Bandito vs. Jonathan Gresham, Supercard of Honor 2022. As ROH held their last pay-per-view of 2021, Final Battle, the future of ROH had so many uncertainties. No one was sure how the future would look, if ROH was going to sell to an outside buyer, or even in this case, who the new world champion was. Unfortunately, due to a COVID diagnosis, Bandito would not be able to make it to the show to defend his ROH World Championship against one Jonathan Gresham. In his absence, we saw Jonathan Gresham pick up the interim ROH title against one Jay Lethal. The unification match headlined the Supercard of Honor show that also featured another match on this list. The high-paced luchador-style offense of Bandito plays extremely well with the technical prowess of one Jonathan Gresham. The story was beautifully told of each man trying to get the other to wrestle his style of match, concluding in a counter-filled last leg. Bandito banished his manager Chavo Guerrero to the back after trying to hit Jonathan Gresham with his version of the ROH title. This match then ends with a beautiful 5-minute segment, featuring Bandito skinning the cat, giving Jonathan Gresham a big suplex, Jonathan Gresham then landing on his feet from that suplex, and Jonathan Gresham goes to the top rope to do a big arm drag onto Bandito into a technical pin, 1, 2, 3, and Jonathan Gresham is your new ROH champion. It truly was special to see the Octopus finally pick up the big one in Ring of Honor, for not only the recognition of him as a professional wrestler, but to lead the company into the Tony Khan era. CM Punk vs. Samoa Joe 2. The second time limit draw in this feud, this match has the distinction of getting the 5-star match rating from Dave Meltzer. These two men tell a fantastic 3-act story, with the first 10 minutes being a technical masterclass, the second involving brawling on the outside and more risky maneuvers, and with the third act being taken up by quick, fast, big moves to try to put the other man away. Very solemnly in wrestling do you get a big fight feel when it comes to a title match, something that feels more akin to a Mike Tyson or a Muhammad Ali fight. This match has spots that would become mainstays of ROH and for both men, featuring Punk handing out corner DDTs, Samoa Joe's famous walkaway spot, God I love the walkaway spot, and of course, Valuva kicks for all. You see, the commentary does something interesting here. They actually dip out in the last 20 minutes of this match, allowing both men to just tell their story without commentary interjecting. One reversal of a Pepsi plunge and one reversal of a muscle buster, this hour goes by surprisingly quickly. While yes, sadly, ending in a draw, this is where ROH began to find the critical acclaim that would follow the company for years to come. Samoa Joe versus Kenta Kobashi. We would be lying to you if we said we knew much of Kenta Kobashi's life in Pro Wrestling Noah prior to watching this match. And also, Kobashi himself wouldn't blame you. Samoa Joe revealing in an interview years later that Kobashi was worried that many people in the ROH fandom would not know who he was and would not respond well to him. And we are so glad that that assumption proved to be false. The crowd in New York City was hot for Kenta, and these two men had one of the all-time classic brawls in ROH history. It is also interesting having to watch so many matches for this list that we finally get to see Joe be the undersized man in a bout. Let me tell you, if you're a fan of Dijakovac or Keith Lee, this is the match for you. These two walked so they could run. These two high-flying heavyweights really did set the groundwork for many super heavyweights of today. With this match feeling like a proper monster movie style fight, each man tried to chop each other down as the minutes wore on. Some of my highlights from this match have to include Kobashi kicking out of the muscle buster, Samoa Joe having one last desperate kick out that was more instinct than anything, and we do have to say Kobashi is a champ for taking that buckle bomb. The Pro Wrestling Noah star picked up the win in this one to a giant crowd reaction, and we have to say Kobashi definitely made fans out of us. We can't believe we missed this match before even making this list. Bryan Danielson versus Low-Ki versus Christopher Daniels, the first ever ROH main event. We don't think that it's a controversial opinion that your main event should be your most important match on the card, especially for your first ever show. These three men were the perfect choice and would highlight what ROH would bring to the wrestling world to come. Bryan Danielson's technical prowess, Loki's high-flying abilities, Christopher Daniels' in-ring psychology. I mean, you really can't go wrong. And also, are you like us and hate the fact that in multi-man matches, some people just get dumped outside the ring so two people can go one-on-one without having to worry about the other person and then they just rotate? Well, guess what? That's not in this match. Each man is having eyes in the back of their head during this three-way dance. This is even more special given the fact that neither man leaves the ring during the match. Loki was able to secure the win, breaking up Bryan Danielson's cattle mutilation and giving a ever-impressing key crusher. It's always interesting to go back in time to see what a company's first main event was, because it really can set the tone for the rest of that company's history, and man, ROH really came off on the right foot. Kevin Steen vs. El Generico, Final Battle 2012, Ladder War 4. Hey, are you a fan of Kevin Owens vs. Sami Zayn? Allow me to introduce you to that feud's cooler older brother. The implosion of these two former tag team partners really does come to a head in this violent match as they go right after each other. Irish whips into the guardrail, people being dropped on their heads, and ladders folding like paper. With Steen's ability to move around El Generico like a rag doll, we're able to see some fantastic spots like El Generico eating an F5 through a table, and the generic masked luchador sending Steen through a ladder himself. It's no surprise while watching this match that both men would do great in WWE. Oh wait, sorry, just one, because El Generico is not Sami Zayn. El Generico runs an orphanage in Tijuana, Mexico. But I'm still sure he'd be able to put on fantastic matches with Shinsuke Nakamura and put on fun WrestleMania matches with Johnny Knoxville. After Eiffel Towering several ladders together, Steen picks up the victory after giving a package pile driver to Generico onto the ladder. Jesus, Steen, he's already dead! With this legendary rivalry in ROH having so many great matches, it was honestly hard to pick, and if you prefer their last man standing match from Showdown in the Sun, we wouldn't blame you. Also, a really big thank you to Ring of Honor for posting a lot of these matches on their YouTube channel for all of us to enjoy. The Briscoes vs. FTR for the ROH Tag Team Championships Supercard of Honor 2022. This match easily makes this list for us, with this match also being featured in our top 10 matches of 2022 so far. These two teams are really the best to ever do it, and with their second match on the horizon, we are so excited to see what they'll bring to Death Before Dishonor. And this entire match is great. It's really hard to find singular moments to point out, and to get more in depth with our thoughts on this match, go ahead and check out our top 10 wrestling matches of 2022 so far. And finally, our top pick for the greatest match in Ring of Honor history, CM Punk vs. Raven, dog collar match at Death Before Dishonor 2003. If you're a fan like we were of CM Punk's match versus MJF at AEW Revolution, its predecessor is just as great, but with so much more of what makes CM Punk and Raven special behind it. CM Punk is in full straight-edge savior mode here, accosting the crowd for drinking and doing drugs, and Raven for his past with substance abuse. Punk plays the fantastic scared heel here, running away from Raven as much as he can, but with the dog collar being the main stipulation, he can't go very far. The biggest thing that set ROH apart from all the other promotions at the time was that the crowd feels like a character in the story itself, and man, this crowd was alive for this one. Whether it was holding up chairs to deliver punishment on Punk via Raven, or throwing trash at the straight-edge superstar, you see as the brawl continues to the outside and the match continues, the crowd becomes more and more invested in these two men brutalizing each other. Whether it's the big unprotected chair shots Raven delivers to Punk, Punk for his part pulling Raven down from the bleachers using the chain from the dog collar, or CM Punk cutting a promo mid-match, we have to give a chef's kiss to face Raven, and more importantly, heel CM Punk for putting on a fantastic bout. CM Punk wins the match off of a Colt Cabana distraction. Sorry real quick, we're gonna go cry remembering better times. And following a post-match beatdown, Raven is saved by his longtime rival in ECW, Tommy Dreamer. For what this match means not only to CM Punk, not only to Raven, not only for CM Punk's feud with MJF and the subsequent matches that they would have, this match in general for us is the greatest to ever happen under the ROH banner. If you're going to go back and watch any Ring of Honor match before Death Before Dishonor, I would highly recommend it be this one. It's woven into so much of CM Punk's current career, his past career, and in the wrestling industry as a whole. And there you have it. Those are our top 10 Ring of Honor matches of all time. What are your top 10 Ring of Honor matches? Let us know in the comments, because I know that there were so many great ones that weren't able to make this list. Thank you guys so much for watching. Remember to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and we'll catch you on our next upload. This has been Extreme League Wrestling. Thank you all so much. We'll catch you next time.